Okay, so we're fresh back from Canberra, which was a bit of fun, and yeah, I've come away from that just with a lot of thoughts and processing going on about it all, about the whole show. And I've also got a little bit more conviction about some things on it. So, yeah, I think it was worthwhile that I went down. I think it was worthwhile for everybody to turn up, despite all the other underlying things that are going on about the movement. Yeah, I think just having that swell of numbers of people there is amazing, and I think that'll have positive flow-on effect. All those people sitting on the fence now seeing, you know, the evidence, the body of evidence there of people turning up. I think that's going to have an effect. But I do feel that the movement as a whole is in the wrong hands of some people, and I think there's a lot of work to do there.
Do they have their own agenda?
Yeah, it's, you know, not just human nature, but, you know, the powers that be are invested in everything, and I think that they've got a good hand on what we're trying to do as well. Got some more people coming in. So,
Are there any doctors there then?
I think there's, out of that whole sea of people, there's somebody from every demographic. Now that's the beautiful thing about it. That was a beautiful cross-section of everyone in Australia. And I saw Muslim women, there's normal, everyday Aussies, tradies, there's doctors, nurses, fireys, police officers, older folk, younger folk.
Anaesthetist, any scrubs.
There are plenty of dogs. Yeah, I'm sure that like people from the medical profession there, and absolutely, I think we covered every demographic, and that's the significant thing about it. There's a bush lawyer there. Yeah, I'm sure there was, even if not out of interest, you know, so, bikies, truckers. Yeah, so, and that speaks out to you, because they're trying to define us as this one thing. And they keep shifting that centre line between the left and the right, they keep shifting, and so that us normal Australians have fallen into some nasty category. But it's pretty hard, like when you've got every demographic there, to categorise us into one slanderous title. So onto the law stuff, because being down there in something like this too, you hear lots of things being said, and you see, you know, all this stuff going on, and so you pick up a lot. For me, I've been picking up on where people are misdirected in what they're saying, and what their expectations might be, and also with what, you know, the outcome post Saturday with the enormous amount of people that came to Canberra, or went to Canberra, you know, from every corner of the country. What happened post Saturday, it's made me realise what many people are forgetting, but it's not hammered home to us. And so that's sort of making me want to talk a bit about that tonight. Just to hammer home some facts. of where we're at, because it's clear that it's been droned into us and bred into us. All the fraud is just embedded in us. That's all we've known. So to become awakened to it all, it's still very hard to retrain your thoughts and live and think differently, and live and think free. Just with the first facts, so what we've been through in the last couple of weeks with our talking. Is at the top of the chain, right, we've got natural law, which not everybody probably agrees with this, and that's fine, but that includes spiritual law. And so I'll go into a bit of I'll sidetrack, you have to forgive me, but I'll go into a little bit of a theology lesson, and I haven't got my master's in theology. So, you know, like I'm 50 odd, and I spent my whole life, a good part of my life, with no real conviction, no real honour towards anything, no real respect for the law or anything. I spent my life sort of just wandering all around in circles, crashing and bumping, and life's been a bit of a trial, not only for myself but for my mum, for us three. And because I spent all that time not only testing the law, like legislation and, you know, what orderly living, but I've tested these out constantly to my detriment, right? And no judge or no earthly system or social system that we've created has been the instrument to hand out my punishment. You know, it's just naturally I've suffered. Spiritually I've suffered, because I've tested these out. Because these are immutable, indissoluble. No one created them, they exist. Always have and always will. So that's fact one. Right? That's real law. And well, the only thing that we should be calling law, right? Apart from how we translate that here on earth into common law. Because that's sort of not really in writing, but we translate that into common law. Do no harm, cause no loss, cause no injury, keep the peace. Right, so in all of my journeys and travels, I've come to the point where now I've consciously chosen to have some conviction about abiding by this, right? So with conviction, I'm getting a bit more direction in life, and that's evident, right? And I'm a man, right? I'm just a man, and I've got no clue. At the end of the day, under my own might and my own steam, I'm useless. I don't have any idea, right? But my belief is I was created by God and I have a purpose, and so He's my creator, so He's got a plan for me and He's got direction for me. If I live by that, that'll unfold. That's spiritual law and natural law working. So that leads to fact number 2. Man is pretty, they're so weak, they're so susceptible to sin, right? And so I see it as through man, right? So this, like I said, I'm going to chucking a bit of theology in, right? Which you don't have to agree with, but it'll lead to a fact, right? Satan's running around manifesting himself on this earth through man, right? And that's because man is trying to be God, right? They're trying to say they're the creator. And so one of the maxims in law is that what has been created cannot rule over the creator. Right? So that maxim in law is the law of equity, and it comes from this, right? Natural and spiritual law. So what's happening on earth is we've got government, a creation of man, is now deemed itself to be sovereign. So when you look at some of our laws and our constitution that they perverted, and even in that it says the constitution's sovereign, meaning the government's sovereign, right? And so they're placing themselves at the top of the ladder, therefore defying natural law, right, and spiritual law, and because as something that's been created, they now inverted everything to become the ruler. And hence we've got all this perversion on the planet going on, pain and suffering. So that was fact number 1. What is the real law? Fact number 2, right? You cannot have that which is created. Ruling its creator. Right. Okay? So there are 2 facts. Because with all the noise going on, I'm going around this, I just feel like I have to share this to drum home. Because with all the noise going on, there's so much stuff to read, there's so many perspectives, right? And it's like, we're just opening our eyes and we're getting bombarded with all this information. And with that comes choice. What do we subscribe to? And you all have to make that choice yourself, but I keep coming back to the basic facts, right? So fact number 3, right, which keeps all this in check here. So we know another maxim of law is legislation, right? Which is not law. Legislation is legislation. Okay? And this is the government's favourite weapon. That's what we'll call it. Right? It's not a tool, it's a weapon. Okay? It's a whip and a prod. But any legislation that breaks or goes against natural law, spiritual law, is an abomination. It's a perversion. You know, and it's unlawful. So, and it's in this murky world of maritime law, commercial corporation law, jurisdiction, that this is where all the perversion goes on, because they can create legislation to just about do anything. And who sponsors the direction of which way legislation goes? We all know what happens there. So this is just a murky, murky world. And it's due to this that they've wrested control and inverted things for us, right? So that's fact number 3. So I'm not teaching you anything new tonight, but I just want to get some simple facts, because we've got to keep coming back to a point. Right, so fact number 3, that cannot break natural law, right? So, if you want to have conviction, like moving forward in all of this mess and knowing where you stand, how easy is it to be swayed if you don't have conviction? If you're not really sure, they'll find a way to get you to question and be not sure. So it's conviction that's going to get us through this. And conviction comes from knowing, absolutely knowing from within. And so those 3 facts, like, they're pretty hard to argue with, and if you just keep relying on facts, to bare basic facts like that you draw clarity. And from then, you can start then also to keep working through all the stuff that gets pushed in front of us and disseminating it and going, well, that's fraud, that's real, that's fraud. Because fact number 4 now, right, because this is the big one, right? So I'll tell you, here's another story now. Imagine if you're a kid at home, right, with your brothers and sisters, and your mum and dad are good people, and you've grown up in a good, stable environment with them where they were loving but firm, and you knew your rules and you knew your role, you had your jobs, and you had respect for your parents of authority, and you learned to respect your elders and things like that. Healthy, it was a healthy home. And then imagine, like, if your mum and dad didn't come home, and then in comes old mate Uncle Joe. You've never seen before, right? But Uncle Joe's his uncle, introduces himself as uncle, and so mum and dad's away, but you know, they sent me here to be in charge and take care of you while they're away. Right, so, well, as being kids, now, you've got to respect for elders and everything, and he's made a connection with you because somehow it's related, and it's Uncle Joe, and old mum and dad's away, and we have a trust for adults, and yeah, sure, fine, okay, so Uncle Joe's running the show and while mum and dad's away. You know, and then he starts loading you up with more chores that you were doing and expecting you to do things that you get beyond your capability, and then start forcing those onto you a bit, and then introducing punishments, you know, and then the abuse starts a bit, you know, and then there's separation amongst yourselves and favouring some and ostracising others, and then the abuse ramps up, and you know, everything's out of control, and you know, then the suffrage really starts to build, but all the while, you still keep following the authority of Uncle Joe. Right? And then what happens one day when you wake up and you realise Uncle Joe's nobody, not related, your mother and father have been locked up and detained, and Uncle Joe's assumed this role of authority over you, by deceit, took advantage of your trust. Right? And so, where did he, okay, now you're probably old enough to stand up for yourself, make a run for it or do whatever, fight back, but you don't. No, yeah.
It's not
Yeah. This one's not. So where does Uncle Joe get his authority from now on? You know, like he had this assumed authority over you because you weren't aware and believed otherwise. And then, so the only authority he's got is if you keep granting him authority. And then, you know, like what is it, the Stockholm Syndrome, and well, you don't know anything different now, so some of those siblings will just keep granting him authority because been there that long now. And what will they do otherwise? But that's exactly what's happened here, right? Exactly. Right? The government has none real authority. Right? What they have is assumed authority. And they've got it because we granted to them. They got it by deceit and default, fraud. Your mum and dad aren't coming back, no one's coming to save you. So now we're faced with a choice, you know, when we wake up and realise some of our brothers and sisters, oh no, mum and dad's coming back and we've all settled down or whatever. But that is a fact. That's not just a rebellious young man standing up here, notice how I said young, you know, looking for, searching for a way to say stuff to government.
Looks can be deceiving.
It's ironic because I was rebellious for so long, and it cost me. And I promise you, I spent a good many years recently just really addressing all that and determining to live right and true. And then I wake up and get to this point now and I realise, well, the government's got covered. But it's different because it's not about rebellion, right? It's not just rebellious anarchy, that's what we're after. But that fact, number 4, the last fact, that's hard for people to get their head around, really, to just go, well, they just have completely no authority here in this place. It's complete fraud. Yeah, we say that, and some of us acknowledge it and that, but it's pretty hard to sink in because the gravity of that's enormous. And then we go, well, what do we do with that? What do we do with that knowledge? What can we do with it?
Create our own community and disassociate ourselves from it.
Yeah. There's a lot of things we can do, and how far do we take the fight? You know,
Some
that's
people find that frightening because that also means assuming responsibility for your life.
absolutely.
That's right.
We've all been bred to see the government as father figure and a mother figure, you know, and hop on the boob, you know, and take life easy and let go of the responsibilities. And they're going to look after us.
But back to natural law, there's always been a hierarchy from animals' age right through. There's a leader. There's always somebody to follow. Not everyone's a leader. and there's more sheep than there are wolves. So people need someone to follow. And whatever they've got the media control, they've got mind control.
Yeah, well, you're right, but and in natural law, there's leadership in every aspect. If you tune into it, just going back to that, like here's another word. It's one of my favourite words. Yingimara. Now that's a Wiradjuri word, and it means respect, but not how we mean respect. It means to walk slowly, acknowledging everything in its place, being part of it, observing and respecting each and everything. So it's not only is it a noun, it's an adjective, but it's also an instruction. It's an instruction. Do not take, be part of, belong in, and not possess over. And everything has its place, including you. Know your place in it. So that there is law. And if you break that law, then you get disharmony, and you get suffrage, and imbalance. So it's a spiritual law as well as a natural law, all in one. Good word. That's the name of my property. And so that's where you get a lot of leadership from everything around by being part of it and knowing your place, knowing where you stand. And I guess that's moving forward with us, like it's our duty, now knowing the law and knowing the treason and the fraud, it's actually our duty to resist and dissent from it. Because otherwise we're facilitating and taking part in the treason and the fraud. So it's our duty to speak up and dissent. And now that's pretty hard because just about everything that we do and are connected with is part of it. So where do you start and where do you finish? And I'm struggling with that. How many battles a day do you want to have? How many times do you want to get locked up a day? Having this, ask Gordy. Gordy stood his ground over a simple thing, and good on him, because that needs to happen, but you haven't got every day of the week to do that.
That's why she has to let the house for nearly 12 months because she can't shut up.
Yeah. Well, so that's not for me to dictate to you what your choice is with that. That's up to you. But I guess that's what I'm trying to talk about tonight is rather than give you any more information about ins and outs of stuff, which I haven't even really fully read up on all up over it myself. But like we're becoming enlightened about the gravity of the situation and what we must do, what we're called to do with it. And that's each and every individual's own journey to take. But what else I wanted to say tonight, the heavy thing is, it's time for us to stop being polite. It really is.
Political correctness needs to get raised.
Yeah. It's time for us to not walk away from the argument.
I disagree. Have fun with it.
And that means at the shop desk, wherever. And, to what level and how many arguments you want to have a day, it's up to you. But as a movement, as an individual, as a community group, we need to stop being polite. And I started tonight saying, like, I come away from Canberra with some more conviction about some things. And what I see down there is that here's 1.5 million people gathered in the nation's capital asking for their freedom back.
Why us?
A free man does not ask for their freedom. Right? This is where people struggle to break out of what we've been conditioned. Freedom right? Is expressed. We are born free, we are created free. There was never any other intention for us. Natural law, spiritual law says we are free. Right? Free man does not ask.
Remember that song, freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose?
Yes, I do. It's much more than that, freedom.
Yes, that's good too.
If you don't go to the nation's capital and you don't negotiate with the police, excuse me, can we park here? And where can we march? And, you know,
You just say.
like you're asking permission all the way along. And then you get there and saying, we want our freedom back, give us our freedom back. That's right. Uncle Joe, can we have some dinner, please? Uncle Joe, can we go next door and play? How about Uncle Joe, piss off out of this house, you don't belong here, you're an imposter. This is our house. Right? That's exactly what we need to do as individuals, as communities, and as that freedom movement, is express our freedom.
But you have to believe you're free before you can express.
Conviction,
Yeah.
right? What is your conviction, right? And have you got those facts that we talked about real solid in here, right? Are you undoing the programming and relying on your facts to have conviction, to know that you are free? And we don't ask for it. And it's going to fall over down there in Canberra because they're relying on these celebrity leaders to lead them somewhere, and those people have negotiated with police, steered this massive attempt at people down there, but corralled them, got them to be compliant. You know, that was a marvellous thing. Like, and I think a lot of good will come out of it, don't get me wrong. But it's so polite. Polite.
That might not last that long, so I think we're just finding our feet with that kind of thing. And I think, because I got cranky with that too, and when they're saying about we have to move on with the camp and everything, I said, well, let's go back to the original camp, let's just occupy the damn thing.
I started a fight after I saw you.
Sweet as.
with Guru and bloody Jim
Yeah,
B.
yeah.
Because they were telling everybody we're going to go 20 k's out of town.
Yeah, or an hour and a half out of
Yeah.
town.
And so you've got people, a week ago you're saying, we want 5 million people in Canberra. What do you think they're all going to come from just around the block? They've come from every corner of the country. I spoke to someone from Tiwi Islands, people from Darwin, 2 young fellas that landed on Friday night from Hobart. They caught 2 planes and a bus and a train, somehow, and an Uber to get to Camp Abbey. Right? People from Perth, Broome. So they've come from every corner of the country, for a rock concert on Saturday.
Oh no, it's like a speech therapy.
Yeah, so, you know, that was a wasted opportunity because it was also polite. Now, I'm not instigating violence, right? There's a difference between sticking your elbows out and stepping on someone's toes when they're standing in your space. Right? There's a difference between violence and exerting and expressing your freedom in your space.
So we
What-
don't practice because we're so used to being polite. And
Yeah.
you think that that is looking after everyone's interest. But now we know that it's not. So we have to reprogram. It's taken me a long time to think that it's okay to give people this. But I'm working on it. And I'll tell you what, it does give you a thrill when you do it.
Yeah?
Because you can feel the earth move inside you. And you think, no, that's good. I'm allowed. We did. We're not meant to be lukewarm pieces.
No, absolutely not. And
We're
look,
we're meant to be passionate
Yes.
human beings with something to say. And
Yes.
when it's called rise up to something.
and call a spade a spade.
Yes.
And look, this is the gravity of all this is so serious and yet to hit. It's time to just, we're not here to make friends with them. Well, hopefully they'll wake up and see us and come on our side, and then they'll be family, not friends. You know, but it's time to just call a spade a spade.
Now, what Dan was saying when we first got here was that he was more or less saying you need to know who you are. All right? Now, you can't use the word person. Okay? That is what the government has created so that you become a corporation so they can deal with you. All right? If you're a man or a woman, they cannot deal with you. They need a contract to deal with you. So when you start talking about workplace and stuff like that, and all that sort of stuff, and all these rules, they're not rules, they're not law. So this is why we've got this confusion between, hang on, that's a law, or this is a rule, right? So when they say, it's very important that everyone knows who they are, and that's a basic thing that we really struggle with. And who you are, or who I am, is a man, a living man, and I am under our Creator, God. Now, there's the Creator, there's me, and you, and then we've created the government. Whoever creates the property owns that property, okay? Now what the government's nicely done is they've created an identity called a person. Now if you look at every single law, statute, whatever you want, it's all written to the person, okay? What's the first thing a police officer asks you when he stops you? Licence, your name. Okay, is he asking you for your full capital name, or is he asking you for your name in lowercase and uppercase? How can you determine that? So what they've done is they've granted you a birth with a legal fiction name, which is in capital letters, which if you go to the funeral parlour and you go talk to those guys and say, look, I want a plot, and I want to put my name on my plot for my family, in uppercase and lowercase. People say, no, you can't do that. It's against the law. What do you mean it's against the law? It's got to be in capital letters, because that means you're dead. So what they've created is a legal dead fiction entity, the person. Now, if you identify by that person, or to that person, you are falling under their corporate laws, and you have to get your jab and you have to do all that. They're in every right to prosecute you once you've consented. So I'll give you a bit of a scenario. You've got a business that has said, righto, we're going to implement these procedures and these policies. So all that is government policy. That is a company, a private corporation. So New South Wales is a legislator incorporated, trading under the New South Wales, the legislator incorporated, trading as the Parliament of New South Wales. They're a corporation. How can they be with the Crown? So all you're following is company policies because you're identifying as that man. So you stand in court and they say, right, Goran Sachevsky, please get up. Hang on, there's a problem here. I'm not that dead fiction entity that you're referring to because I know who I am. I'm identifying as a man. A man has rights, a corporation has no rights. Right? The police officer has no rights, he's in contract with the corporation. So there's a bit of it is very confusing. It's taken people lots of years to understand that, but you don't take it. Now, I've got this little court case that's going at the moment for not wearing a mask and not QR coding in. Now, I've gone to the courts a couple of times. I won't let me in without a mask. So, well, hang on. I'm going to go and fight a court case about not wearing a mask with the mask on. You know what I mean? That's ridiculous. So what I've done was I went and played their game, got a stat deck, and the stat deck clearly stated that I have a condition, but I do not wish to disclose it with a government body. It needs to be a doctor. I don't believe in doctors, and everything the Health Minister is saying is not against... everything the Health Minister is saying does not comply with the Commonwealth, does not override the Commonwealth, and that's the Commonwealth law. So all these acts and all these policies, don't be brainwashed by them, guys. They're nothing, they're not law, they're nothing. There's just a request for you to do that. Now, if, with this case that I've gone to, I've taken that stat deck to them, and they said, no, you can't come in. I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, a stat deck, anyone can write a stat deck. And I said, well, it's on your website, stat deck or exemption. Oh, no. Anyone can write a stat deck. I said, look, mate, I don't make the laws. I'm supposed to abide by them. Not once have I consented to who I am. I haven't told them who I am. That's all their assumptions and all their opinions, okay? Now, when I said to the guy, I said, well, hang on, mate, I'm at a Commonwealth Court here. There's a Commonwealth logo right there, the lion and the unicorn. This is against the Commonwealth. Oh, look, mate, look, you know, he won't let you in, the judge will not let you in. I said, well, I've got a right to defend myself, and I can't be denied that. So anyway, he said that he would go and talk to the judge and asked for an adjournment so that he could work out what he wants to do with me. I said, well, no, mate, you just want to adjourn this so that you can run the case without me, and you're going to fine me. And I said, if that happens, I'll be prosecuting you, and I'll be taking this all the way up to the High Court. Anyway, I got an email back yesterday, and they've suspended the case adjourned the case till 7th of the 9th. So that gives you a bit of an idea. When you do stand up, they don't want to see you in the court. They can't have me standing in that court saying what I need to say, that I'm a living man. Whoa, you can't say that. Get him out of the court, get him out of the court, get him out of the court. It's because they can't have people understanding that. And it's as simple as that. Who are you? Like, seriously, who are you? You might not believe in a creator, but we are men and women, flesh and blood. No law can make you do anything you don't want to do. But once you identify to that person, right, whether it be by verbal, because you don't know, is it the block letter name, or is it my upper and lower case name? You don't know, and this is their trick, and it's called legalese. Just like when someone says, do you understand? Well, that means you stand under my authority. You don't understand. Right? Oh, I'll tell you again, no. I can hear what you're putting down, but I don't understand, mate. So it's about not falling for their trickery, and these guys don't want me in that court. You can see that. They've buggered me around, they've got to give me 2 days off work. You see what they're doing? They're just prolonging. Now, I did do the stand where I didn't show my licence at a stop a number of times, got away with it, speeding, all sorts of stuff. But in the end, you really got to look at the situation. If you're driving down the road and you're not doing anything wrong and you get pulled up by the cop at a breath test, just give your licence. You've got nothing to prove. I've tried it. It worked every time, except the last time I got locked up for a few hours. But they had nothing on me. Don't think that you have to disclose your personal information to a policeman, to a court, to anybody. So when I got arrested, put in the paddy wagon, mate, your name's Goran Stachevski. Don't answer any questions, mate. Oh, you got to tell me. No, I don't. Do I have a right to remain silent? Yes, you do. Thank you very much. Right? Whenever you're stuck, don't say anything. They are doing that for you to incriminate yourself so that they can then use their corporate law against you. And what they try to do from the start is to identify you as that person. Once you're that person, you are under their jurisdiction. Right? So when you're in court, if you say you're that person, yes, I'm Goran Stachevski, you are under the judge's jurisdiction. If the judge cannot establish that jurisdiction, he can't make you do anything. He's going to jump up and down, they're going to say all the things on the planet. But the thing about it is you need to know who you are. And that's exactly what Dan was explaining about natural law. Natural law is God-given. It's our Creator's right for us. We're born with it. No one owns it. No, the government can't take it off you. We've all still got our rights. So asking for your rights and sitting in the parliament with all these big wigs doing deals with the murderers and the rapists, I don't know about you guys, but that doesn't sit right with me. And that's not the way to do it. And, you know, you think about Canberra down there, and they've got, you know, the Australian flag flying, they've got the red flag, they've got the blue flag flying, they've got all these flags flying. Does that show unity?
No.
Who do you stand under? That's right. So if any flag is flown, it needs to be the red ensign flag. It needs to be that one because that's the Anzacs flag. That has a chain of authority that gives us the authority as people of the land. Now, when they developed these flags, they had the red flag for the people, which is merchant flag for trade, right? And then they had the blue flag for the military. Now, the military flag, if you're flying that flag, which we did on the weekend because I wasn't up to speed with it, you know, you're flying their corporate flag. That's their corporation flag. So you're going, yeah, I want my rights, I want my right, but you're flying the corporation flag. You're not flying the land flag.
And then you've got people like Bozzy, and I was all over Bozzy, but he's been talking about uniting under one flag, uniting as one, right? And he's got this Southern Cross flag thing that he had in one of his speeches. Well, isn't that a republic? A republic supports acts, statues, and it's all flying under the UN. It's exactly what we've got now. So we really need to start to think and listen to what people are saying. Like, you know, Bossy says the right things in so many ways, mate, that it tricked me, all right? But just listen to what they're pushing for. You know, why are we losing our chain of authority through the red flag to switch to a united flag under the UN? Aren't we under the UN now? It's not doing us much good. Aren't they the ones that are taking our titles off our property? So you need to know who you are. It's the most important thing. There's a lot of information out there through Dan, and that I'll share some spots you can go and you can read about it. A lot of these things are developed from, you know, sayings from big kings and all that sort of stuff, and it says there where our rights lie. But by you saying that you're that person, you straight away are under the authority of that officer or whoever it may be. So it's really important to do that. So I chose to get roughed up a little bit with the police and that sort of stuff because I need to feel that myself to experience it. There's too much misinformation going around that, oh, you do this and you do that, and you do this and do that, and I found that a lot of it's lies. But I found the one that works the most is being who you are, knowing who you are. You know, are you a person? You've got to ask yourself that, you know? And I think we all understand that we're not that person, but then we go back to talking about, oh, you know, they've got these legislations and hey, woo, you're going back to the person. All right, we are men and women. All right, we are self-governed, and we have a right to self-govern ourselves as a sovereign man and woman. And that's the short of it. It's so basic that it's not funny, but we've just been so misled by the media and all these people that have got hidden agendas, getting paid to push their corporate or the UN or a united flag, and it's all sucking us in. But realistically, it comes back to you standing as your own sovereign, as you from, you know, wherever you believe in. I believe in a creator, and that's how you do it. And they cannot make you do anything. Don't let them establish jurisdiction. But if you just cruise along down the street, they stop you for a breath test, do the breath test, show them your licence. You don't want to go down that avenue because you will get the wrong cop. And they do chuck you in jail. And I'll give you a bit of a rundown and roughly just quickly before I finish up on what they do is that the officer came to the door and he said, look mate, ran a breath test, want to see your licence. I said, oh, they normally show me licence at breath test, mate. I haven't committed a crime. And this guy went 0 to 100 in 3 seconds. He was going off. I need to identify you. I need to identify you. Why does he need to identify me? Because he wants me to be the person so that he's got jurisdiction over me. So I didn't identify. I want to see your licence. You've got to show me the licence under the Road Traffic Act. I said, mate, that's not law. It's statute law, not based on the Queen. It's based on the Australian Queen. That's how they ripped it all off. Now, then he started going off. You'll go in jail today. I've heard that one a number of times. I said, knock yourself out, mate, do whatever you do. So he goes, get out of the car. Pulls my door open. I said, I'm not getting out of the car. I feel safer in the car. And he goes, get out of the car, mate. And I said, man, I've got to start filming this. So I got my camera out. Started filming, and he quite politely said in a very aggressive manner that he was going to tear me out of the car, smash me face into the tar, beat me more or less, and then take me to the station and book me. And I said, oh my God, mate, you've just said all this on camera. So I was a very, very, very aggressive person. And through these few years, I've tried the aggressive side. It doesn't work. You need to be talking like you're talking to a child. You need to de-escalate the situation, which is what that policeman should be doing. So in the end, I said, he goes, get out of the car, and he reached in and grabbed me on the hand. I said, mate, that's assault, don't touch me. Right? So he then stopped and just waited. And then I looked down the street, and his pop's coming down the middle of Mudgee Main Street. You know, there's been someone bringing up common law or something. Anyway, they pulled up, and he's waiting for the officer to come over to me, and he said to me, he goes, are you going to get out of the car? I said, I'm not getting out of the car, mate. And he goes, well, I know if I go to get you out of the car, that you're going to put on a massive performance and you're going to resist. And I said, well, that's your opinion, mate, and I'm not going to resist. Why would I resist? You've got guns. So anyway, they grabbed me, 3 officers, dragged me out of the car, smashed me into the back of the car, run their knees into me, bent my arms up behind me back, did all that sort of stuff. I didn't resist. Got in the vehicle, snatched the phone out of my hand, got in the vehicle, got taken down to the police station. You don't think you've got to tell the cops anything, so don't answer any questions. Oh, you're this, you're that. What do you think about that? No, don't answer any questions. Okay, mate, we've got these documents here you've got to sign. Don't sign documents, mate. Right, so don't fall for their authority. Once you fall for their authority, you become the person, and you're under their jurisdiction. So see, it's a very basic thing, but you've got to stand your ground. You see a lot of people stand their ground, and this is what got me started, and what happens is that you stand your ground for the bit, and then all of a sudden you go, oh yeah, here's my licence. Right, you've just done all that hard work, had that run in, and then you just give them the licence, and there's the authority, and you bug it. Right, so know who you are, and you need to really, really know that.
That's their paycheck.
That's their contract. That is their contract. Now there is a law that no corporation can deal with a man, a living man or woman, without a commercial contract. Period. So your argument when you go to court is, I'm not that legal dead fiction, in capital letters, I'm a man. Now they'll carry on, say, sorry, Your Honour, I'm a man. Now they'll try to say, Mr. Stoichevsky, sorry mate, that's not my name. That's my father's name or my grandfather's name. My name's Goran and I want you to use that name. So see how they're going to keep trying to put you in that fiction, and you've just got to pull out of that fiction. They're not going to let you in the court, so you've got to argue that point, and you've got to not argue it with aggression, but just be smart, play their game and stand your ground. You need to be able to be going into the court to defend yourself. It's simple as that. They'll try every trick in the book. So now they've adjourned it till the 9th, probably hoping that everything goes away and then they don't have to do it. But probably don't take it that far because it can get a bit scary, but still, you know, it's just proof that you've got to stand your ground. You just need to know who you are and don't identify to that person. So, but anyway, what Dan's doing here, I think is a great thing. Knowledge is power, and I'll tell you what knowledge does give you. It gives you a calmness about yourself when you do have that interaction with them. And they're going off like a pork chop, and I've never seen cops open their phones and flick out pads and walk back and forth to cars so many times because they don't know what to do with you. They don't know what to do with you. And it's not their fault. Like, and this is where you can't really be getting aggressive at them, but still, they can't touch you. And they can't do all these things to you. Under natural law, common law, under the law of the land, if you maintain yourself as being that living man or living woman. Now, don't fall into the person thing. That's their job. First thing the judge says when you get in there, Goran Stoichevsky, straight away. That's because he's putting his authority on you. Now, his jurisdiction's just been put on it. And if you deny that, you're going to go through a court case where you're going to go 4 or 5 times just to work out who Goran Stoichevsky is. Because they don't know who. It's a piece of paper. It's a piece of paper. That's all it is. It's a vessel. So.
Can I just ask, what about now where they've got those scanners that read your rego, and so they know who you are before they get out of the car?
No, absolutely.
But I don't know driving someone else's car.
Because my car's registered in their name.
Yeah, but I don't know driving someone
That's
else's
beside.
They still give you, all that is a printout on a sheet of, like on the computer that says my name in capital letters. That doesn't mean that you're that person. Okay?
They want to hear you say. They want to
hear it.
consent that you are this fictitious entity. Because what the police are trying to do is harvest the government's property in, bring it into the court and process it, administrate, get some cash off it. And so they're trying to escalate a situation, not de-escalate, because they want to see how much more coin they can get out of it.
They're banks, the courts are all banks. They're run by the banks, they're owned by the banks. When you go to court, you're going to court to find out what you pay. That's all you're going to court for. You get told to use a lawyer. Well, they're all a part of the bar. The bar, the judges, the whole lot. So they've done oath to the bar, not to the land and to the people. So it's all corrupt. It's not. You're not meant to win. They tell me that the stats on winning's 86% to 14% losses to wins, and that's the same as poker machines. So that gives you a bit of an idea of what goes on. So it's all just money laundering and all that sort of stuff they do. But you just don't fall into it. No one can come to your house and demand that you're this person that's a piece of paper. How can they prove that you are a piece of paper? You're living. I have a soul. I'm talking. I'm communicating. You know,
They've
so.
been to our house 9 times and we've never told them where we are. Not once. They say, so who are you? Where's Gordon? What's his address? What's your last name?
Yeah, they use your name. They use your name even. Like they come to the door and go, Goran, and you just walk out the door, don't say anything. They go, yeah, you must be Goran. You answer to that. No, I didn't. But don't worry about that. That comes out in the evidence. So, like I've got 3 or 4 cases going, and there was another one. Yeah, all COVID related, and they come around, they give you the brief of evidence with their CDs, and then their brief of evidence doesn't match the footage off their chest. That's how slap happy they are. The paperwork, the dates are wrong. There's nothing on here. This is empty. It's ludicrous. If I did that in court, I'd be done.
A lot of times at court, they say, state your name and address. Ain't meant to say that.
No. That's why you're stating your name in capital letters. That's what they're getting you to do. That's... Yeah, you just say...
You don't have to answer that.
No, you could actually say I wish to remain silent if you want to. You don't, because you're in front of a judge, you don't have to say anything. The law is you remain silent. Anything that you say will be used against you. So they're telling you that at the start. So, but like, you know, avoid going to court. You don't really want to go to court if you can help it, but don't be scared off by some policeman. But just the end of that story too, that copper, he ended up deleting the video off my camera, right? So that's tampering with evidence, right? Assault, right? Coercion, and a number of other things. So don't think they're not going to break the law to put this policy on you, all right? And really when it comes down to it, if you prosecute that person in common law as a man, well then he has to come up man versus man, and just like judge jury is common law. Do you ever see judge jury, two people walk out without a winner?
Judge Judy.
Judy, sorry. Right? It's common law, two people go in there, I've got a problem with you, I'm going to put my claim forward to you, and there's going to be a jury of my peers, and they're going to make call on that, and one person leaves victorious, and the other person leaves with a loss. That's common law. Not how they do it here. They've got so many different legislation, so many different meanings for words, and it's just legal needs, and they're all trained in it, and you're not. Problem with a lot of these laws and a lot of these, you know, a lot of these constitutions and all that sort of stuff, they've been corporatised by the corporate government. And they're still referring to the person. You know, a man is a person who has obligations in a community. So all they're done with that is saying that man, if he chooses to, has obligations in the community, which is the government. So they're policies, they're company policies. And if you consent, a business consents to them, they can be fined for it because they're consenting, they've accepted the law and they have to enforce it on you. That's why the government's made all this crap around it so they can get away with it and just sort of dump it on the courts and not worry about it. And don't worry, it's not just me that's doing this. There's hundreds and hundreds of people. The courts are totally chock-a-block. I've waited 18 months to have one court case heard.
Can I ask a question? The book that I'm reading at the moment by a fellow in Australia called John Wilson says that actually if you go into a court of law, there should always be a jury.
That's exactly right. It's called a tier 3 court, and that means that a tier 3 court, which means that there's got to be more than one judge. No one man can prosecute another one man. It can't be. That's why you need a jury of equal peers. We're not talking about accountants and all that. If you're a builder or hospitality, you would have of equal peers in that court, and that's who makes judgment on you. That's common law, and the only law a living man has got, one law only: do no harm. That covers everything. So if you've done no harm, there's no law there. It's rubbish. Even if you get pulled up by a police and they take you and you showed your licence, you can say that you weren't under that licence at the time. You weren't operating under that corporate document. I was travelling. I have a right to travel unhindered. Right? So you can push this as far as you want to go, but to get that, you've got to get the knowledge. You've got to understand it.
And the language.
And the language. Yes, that's right. You know. That's exactly right. Where's the victim? You have also got they've got a duty that whoever has made a claim against you, that they have to present themselves in court. So how can that speed camera present itself in court? So see how it's ludicrous, it's ridiculous, but it's a corporate policies. It's just like someone said before, is that if I've got a business, I can pretty much do whatever I like in that. That's true, but you can't discriminate. So realistically, people are being discriminated on, but the government's got this little plan to get the businesses doing their dirty work by consenting to a company policy. They've all got ABN numbers. That's exactly right.
If you're confronted with that, a business is giving you a hard time for not wearing a mask or checking in or whatever, and it's been an ordeal for you, and you really want something or need something from that service or business, you just say, righto, put that in writing.
Never ever discuss anything with anyone on the phone from the government or anything. This is what they do so that you've got to write everything down. No, you don't have to talk to anyone. You don't have to identify yourself. I don't identify myself on the phone anymore. I'm from Telstra. Sorry, mate, don't identify myself. Send it to me via email. You have my email address. All right? You want a chain of evidence in writing. You don't want to be looking for that. That's why you use videos and all that sort of stuff. but get it in writing. Anyone comes to you, starts shooting their mouth off and they want this and they want that, 9 times out of 10 there's no warrant. Right? Okay, what gives you the authority and the jurisdiction to be doing this? Right? You want the piece of paper. Anyone, I could come around to your house and do what I want. You know, we need to start asking for proof, and we've just been sort of grown up to just comply. School is all about complying. That's what they're teaching you. The headmaster is the big wig, you know, you've got to comply. And if you don't say and do whatever you're being told, you will be on detention. Right? So this is what they've taught us, to comply. And this is where we need to change our thought. You're free and you're living, but you need to know who you are to get that. If not, you're just falling back into that person. You know, if they'll try to get you to identify that. It's quite hilarious, really, when you start going through it and you're relaxed enough to watch it, because it's a Muppet show. It really is a Muppet show. So, but yeah, but keep going with it, Dan. It's great what you're doing, mate.